You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
I remember it being like a very little place, typical, New Jersey, New York pizza spot. It's very quaint. There's like a little TV playing and the same drinks and the same people kind of look the same that work there. And it smells the same. I remember thinking I don't like pizza. But then I saw those things and I think I had like 5 billion of them. It was like dough with cheese and pepperoni, and it was like twisted into these little, like, they almost look like lobster tails, like in that shape. I remember it being like an escape from the wake and like a bunch of sadness. It was almost like when you walk out of a funeral home and you breathe not funeral home air, it feels relieving a little bit. It's like very familiar for a day that feels very unique to your life. And so, you go to a funeral and you're seeing all this extended family that you haven't seen for in either months or years. And you see each other and then you both say, everyone's always, the theme is, oh, we really need to get together for things other than this. So like saying it without really meaning it always felt wrong. But what I knew would happen is that we would still, the moment I would have with this particular person, this relative in all these years, would be going to the pizza spot and having pizza rolls and catching up on the things we probably would have never talked about if we weren't here for that day.
That was Janice Grillon, sister to Meat and Three reporter Sariel, reminiscing about the pizza place that their family always went to after funerals. Over the past 6 months, our team, as well as the rest of the country, have experienced a lot of grief and heartache. As we grapple with how to navigate these losses, whether it's a loved one or the threat to our freedoms, something that has always helped us cope is food. We spent a lot of time in production meetings this season talking about how food connects us to loved ones lost, as well as the loved ones still here. We realized that grief, in its many shapes and forms, is intimately connected to food, too. Being vulnerable on the pod became a portal for understanding how grief could be processed. For Sariel, the pizza parlor is a third space to deal with grief. For me, it's the hibachi grill that my family went to after my grandmother's death. But more on that later. For now, this is a reminder for everyone in our community listening that there's no right or wrong way to grieve. And so today, we'll visit a temple to explore how food, ritual, and memory come together, talk with a death doula, and make recipes that remind us to connect with the people that we love. I'm Taylor Early, and this is Meat and Three on HRN.
Meat and Three.
Meat and Three.
Meat and Three.
One meat, three sides.
Food, news, and storytelling.
A square meal.
For your ears.
Meat and Three.
The Early family has never really been a touchy-feely group. We lose track of each other in our day-to-day, and generally only come back together for a wedding, or for a loss. And then we all go our separate ways shortly thereafter. It's like we've built this little world, this bubble of grieving, only to split up and then grieve on our own, more or less in isolation. Which, as I've gotten older, has me wondering, why do we only get in touch with each other when someone passes? While Western culture often doesn't have the muscle for grieving in community, the dead are very much a part of life in Vietnamese culture. For our first story, Hugh Huynh explores how memory can act as a bridge to the afterworld. She takes us to a Buddhist temple where feeding spirits is just as important as feeding the living.
Today marks the 100th day of my father's passing. This milestone holds great importance in the Buddhist religion, symbolizing his passage into the afterlife. We arrive early at the temple before the ceremony begins. Outside, a thunderstorm rages. Inside, it is calm, save for the aunties and uncles, preparing for the feast that will come after the ceremony. They scoop mounds of freshly steamed rice into serving platters alongside mountains of noodles stir-fried with vegetables and tofu. The living won't be the first to eat. The dead have already been served. The towering altar where statues of Buddhas in various shapes and sizes are filled to the brim with offerings, overflowing with platters of fruits and sweets. The most important of all is rice. In front of my father's photo is a bowl of rice with chopsticks, ready for him to take the first bite. As I pray in front of my father's altar, the monk gestures to me to place the chopsticks into the middle of the rice, acting like a tombstone to his grave of grains. As the ceremony begins, I can't help but wonder what ties food, memory, and ritual so intricately together. I'm not alone in these questions. David Sutton, a professor of anthropology at Southern Illinois University and the author of Remembrance of Repasts, an anthropology of food and memory, asks,
"Are you feeding the dead, or are the dead feeding the living?"
This complex relationship of the living and dead is crucial to understanding the Vietnamese belief of parallel worlds. It is this idea that the realm of our ancestors mirrors our own world, and therefore they have similar earthly needs. Our ancestors get hungry just like we do. It's comforting for me to believe that because our ancestors rely on us for food, that maybe death isn't the end, but rather a different realm of reality. At the ceremony, I feel almost as if my father is there with me. I can't help but remember the last meals we shared. It's rice that has transported me back to childhood memories, specifically of my father making porridge out of day-old rice to make ends meet when we first arrived in America.
When we eat something, we are either consciously or unconsciously comparing and contrasting it to other times that we've eaten it in the past. And so memory is, in a way, as one of our senses too. It's not just recording things that happened, it's actively playing a role in our present.
One thing that's striking is the importance of ongoing rituals. While the act of dying may be unexpected, grieving itself follows a rhythm, a routine that extends far beyond a single moment of mourning. In some traditions, remembrance happens in cycles.
It's not like a funeral because you don't just have one, you have one 3 days after someone's died, and then 9 days after they've died, and 40 days after, and then a year, and then once a year after that.
It's the reason why I'm here at the temple, 100 days after my dad's passing. These rituals keep memories alive and help ensure a legacy for the dead.
While you're still alive, you can control your generous reputation by your own acts. But after you die, you have to rely on other people to continue this for you.
While the dead may depend on the living to continue their legacy, whether that's maintaining their reputation or keeping them fed, the living depend on the blessings of ancestors for protection and good luck. The living and dead are intertwined in a mutual relationship where each serves the needs of the other.
The memorial ceremonies are actually a way of extending people's generosity after they've died. So the people who put on these ceremonies are doing it not just in honor of the dead person, but to offer food from the dead person to the community. They say it's to lighten the soul of the dead person, but it's really a way of extending that generosity beyond their death.
As we leave the temple, with to-go trays overflowing with leftovers, my mom tells me she is happy, that my dad is eating so many good things that she could have never made for him at home. We leave the temple knowing that my father will always be well fed.
Whether by choice or not, grief often manifests in isolation, which, ultimately means there's no playbook on how to grieve. In our next story, Maya Okindo discovers that life and death are often on two sides of the same coin. While the most commonly known doulas shepherd folks through giving birth, the growing awareness of death doulas shows just how necessary guidance through sorrow can be. Their support might come as companionship during our darkest moments, or as a way to reconnect us to ancestral grieving practices we've lost touch with.
I pick up the phone and hear silence. I know what this silence means because I've heard it before. I'm in Rio de Janeiro visiting my best friend. It's Baba, who lives almost 5,000 miles away in Georgia. Mom is not here anymore. He means grandma. I've seen my father cry, but this is the first time I've heard him sob. I don't have anything to say. What do you say? My grandmother's health had been getting worse, but even then, the expected still hurts the same. All that came to mind was the realization that one day, I'd be having the same conversation with my children. I've lived abroad since I was 18. During those 10 years, 3 family members have passed. But I've never been to a funeral. There was always an exam, work, or finances that got in the way. I've never regretted my decision to move away from my family, but the grief weighs on me. And no one teaches you how to wade through it, especially when you're on your own. 7 years later, I decided to look for answers and discovered death doulas, non-medical professionals who guide families through the end-of-life and grieving process for their loved one. This led me to Azul Lopez, a somatic practitioner and death doula.
I'd say that grief isn't an enemy. It's not there to hurt you or annoy you. It's an expression of the body. I see emotions in that way. I don't see them as positive or negative. I try to see them as neutral. It's there for a reason. It's not there for nothing. It's expressing the loss.
Being alone with our grief is inevitable. Once the funeral ends, life continues. Gradually, there are fewer calls, and people stop bringing you food. This doesn't make our grief any less important. Too scared to sit with my feelings, I turned to my friends. But no matter how supportive they were, I felt like a burden, inconveniencing them with my grief. Too often we avoid grieving with big emotions in front of others. Azul invites us to welcome solitude instead of fighting it. It is when we're alone that we have the space to feel the depth of our grief. Freed from the pressure to grieve the right way, we can truly express ourselves.
To me, like other people being around you, it feels like a hug. Somebody's holding you, somebody's caressing you, and then grieving on your own is a release. You can like let loose, you can let go.
After each loss, I found myself in the kitchen. The steady rhythm of chopping onions, the sound of curry slowly simmering on the stove soothed my anxiety. Cooking became more than a way to nourish my body. It became a meditation to feed my soul.
Something warm or really just any comfort food in general can be very supportive. And that's something that I usually recommend too, whether it's warm beverages like teas or foods like soups, whatever makes you comfortable.
I left Azul's conversation thinking I had a better understanding on how to grieve alone, until I heard this last piece of advice.
I just want to express an invitation for people to be open to go back to these practices of holding space for grief, regardless of ethnicity or the origin. We used to have these practices. And if you look deeply, they might still be part of your family. They might not call it by name, but it might still be there. So take back some of those practices.
I've had many conversations about death with my mother in the past, but we've never talked about funerals. With all these new questions, I asked my mom to share more about our tribe, the Luya's funeral practices.
What's important is the idea of death as simply a destination somewhere on the path in which the whole community participates in.
Kenya has over 40 tribes, each with their unique customs around death. In Luya culture, funerals last several days. During this time, a series of ceremonies must be completed. The purpose of these ceremonies are to help families process their grief with the community and take care of our loved ones who have left their physical form.
The person is still a member of the family. It's just as a change in status. They are now on the other side. Their needs have to be met in a certain way. So part of the ceremonies are making sure that there is a transition.
At the center of these practices is food. While the immediate family completes these ceremonies, it's the responsibility of neighbors and extended family to cook and feed those who are coming to pay respect. Many dishes are prepared, but there's one that is always present.
It is maize and beans, which is amainjera. It was a simple food that was, if you didn't have anything else, that's what you cooked.
Maize and beans is a practical dish that feeds a lot of people, but it also has spiritual significance.
It's such a funeral food that if you dream that you're eating that, it's considered a sign that there's going to be a funeral in the near future, somewhere.
In Luya culture, death is not the end of life. It is a transition for our loved ones as they join our ancestors. Here on Earth, there's still life to be celebrated.
There's almost a sort of festive air going on at the same time. I remember at my dad's funeral, during the day, mourners would be arriving and all that. But at night, there were bonfires and there was dancing. There was music playing. It was almost as if you forgot for a minute that it was a funeral.
We celebrate life as a reminder that death is only a visitor. Once we honor and accept its presence, death will move on.
There's an understanding that the family needs food, but it also needs emotional food. So food is not just about the physical stuff that you cook. It is also whatever else sustains them and gives them the strength to continue.
Our culture acknowledges that grief stays with us long after the funeral. While we take some time to process, there's one more ceremony left to complete.
About a year after, there's supposed to be what they call makumbusho. Makumbusho is a remembrance where the family, friends, and whatnot come again. So, in essence, the whole process doesn't really end until a year. And now the family is responsible for taking care of the visitors.
Learning about my ancestral practices has shown me I was never alone in my grief. My ancestors were always guiding me and reminding me that even when family is hundreds of miles away, grief is still a communal practice. Makumbusho is an idea. Remembrance can be a solo practice. No matter how much time passes, we celebrate our family forever. Through cooking, I found acceptance of what I had lost and rediscovered the joy which still remains. I cook to honor my loved ones. I cook to remember where my ancestors have been. Above all, I cook to remind myself where I am heading.
You need to eat. The person might be gone, but you're still here, and life is still here, and life must be affirmed and reaffirmed. Death belongs to a cycle. It does not end things. It happens within the cycle of life.
This story was so important for me to hear. As y'all may or may not know, I also live abroad, and I've missed the funerals of family and friends over the past 8 years. Grieving in isolation is hard, but Maya's story felt like a warm embrace and a balm. But last year, I was able to be home with my family after the passing of both of my grandmothers. In our production meeting table read for this episode, the team and I were listening back to the clip from the hibachi grill that you just heard. And besides laughing, we were trying to find a way to transition from the high energy of the moment back into the rest of this episode. Since our reporters incorporated their family members' voices into their stories, I thought it would be fun to ask my dad to also send a short note, around 1 minute, about our family's moment at hibachi celebrating my grandmother and each other. He responded with a nearly 10-minute voice note, full of wisdom, vulnerability, and stories I hadn't heard before about my family, our food traditions, and how we process grief. So to pivot, my co-host, co-executive producer, and the other half of my brain on the pod, H. Conley, sweetly suggested that I turn my father's voice note into a story for you all. So, please enjoy some reflections on grief, celebration, traditions, and family, brought to you by my father, Rory Early.
Grief. At some point, we all go through grief. I lost my mother to age. It was difficult. I was in the room and woke up and I realized she was gone and had to go through the whole process of calling the police and having a funeral director come and even helping lift her body to the funeral director's vehicle. And that profound sadness of losing your mommy. I mean, it was my mommy who was mother of 4 children. Really difficult to put words to or even tears. I don't even know if I was so sad that I cried. But life. She had a great life, 94 years old. I decided instead of having a celebration of life for my mother, I wanted to have a reflection of her life. I think sometimes people we live with and live apart from, it's tough to celebrate things that we may not know about or really feeling that connection. So I chose to have a reflection, and it was great. But in typical early fashion, we have the tendency to take sadness and turn it into a way to be happy. And food has always been a cornerstone of happiness. When I was a kid, my father would cook fish. He would fry fish. We would catch and he would fry them, and almost to the point where you could eat the dorsal fin and the bones, and it was like eye roll back deliciousness. So, what do you do after you just spend time reflecting on your 94-year-old mother's life? We decided to go to a hibachi restaurant, and it was great. It's more sake, more happy is their motto. And, if you've ever been to a hibachi, you're shaped in a square. I don't know if that has any meaning, but everybody gets a chance to see each other. And I sat across from my older brother. It was sake time, and the person preparing the food has the sake bottle, the baby bottle of sake, and as they're spraying it into our mouths, you're getting the chant, of the family to drink, 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 and are they encouraging me to drown my sadness of the loss of our mother and grandmother and great grandmother? Nah, I would say probably not. And then it went to my youngest daughter, who was only 20 at the time, and she gave me the face, and I'm like, do it. This is partly celebrating one's life. So why not participate in the union of a family, a get together, an opportunity for us to break bread, to do it together. And it was just a tremendous warm feeling of unity and family, as I say, food is good for the soul. And I mean, I don't know if we ever get through grieving, but a good hibachi, you know, if you're looking for a way to bring family together and just maybe even disconnect from the loss of a loved one, that might be a great opportunity, or would be a great way to deal with grief.
I am my father's daughter, y'all. We love to yap and wax poetic. I love you, Dad. While the Earlys deal with loss over shots of sake, Jesse Nicely's family bonds over an admittedly more pungent dish that ties generations together.
So ngapicha, I say, is like a condiment, right? And so I ate it on everything. We ate it, ate it with the rice and all the curries and stuff, but really we ate it on Wonder Bread. It was delicious. Hot dogs. I always put it on my tuna sandwiches. So I think what I would describe it as is a hot, fried, red chili, garlic, shrimp powder, delicious, oily thing.
As you just heard from my mom, nipi chaw, a pungent Burmese condiment, has always been a staple in our household. It took me a long time to warm up to it, but she put that stuff on everything. As a child, its origins were a mystery to me.
I'm pretty sure it was my mom. At least in my, in my memory, that's who made it. At first, she would do it in the house. It was kind of like what they would consider like a napalm or something. She would just start roasting it in the red chili peppers in a pan. And those fumes would come up and just it's pretty dangerous. And eventually she moved outside to do that on the barbecue grill.
After my grandparents passed away, nipi chaw duty was handed down to my Aunt Zinni, and after her death, to my Aunt Sway. When I moved to Los Angeles in 2016, I soon found myself out of nipi and far away from my supplier. I looked up recipes online, but none of them were quite right. Some were too chunky or too oily. As with many Burmese recipes, things really varied from family to family. So I reached out to my aunt to ask how to make it myself. The instructions she sent, read here with some extra notes by my mom, were as opaque and vibes-based as the other Burmese recipes I've gotten from family members in the past.
I will be making more nipi chaw soon. You have to have ground dried shrimp powder. You can get it at a Mexican store. Camarones, dried red peppers, ground, same place. You fry garlic slices or chopped garlic and take out of pan. You should add oil before you do that. Set aside. Use same oil and use quite a bit to absorb the shrimp powder. Fry shrimp paste in oil. The apartment will smell for just a few minutes. No, it'll be longer than a few minutes. Add shrimp powder and red pepper. Salt to taste, and when all fried, add the garlic and stir well. It's pretty easy. I will bring some to you when I come down. Thanks, Jess.
Although she did end up bringing me another batch of nipi, I was still determined to figure it out on my own. I was lucky enough at the time to have access to a commercial kitchen. So with the aid of a professional hood fan and a bit of deductive reasoning, I attempted to recreate my aunt's nipi chaw. After a few tries, some with burned garlic or too much oil, I was finally able to make an acceptable approximation.
Her nipi was all I had, right? And I remember it as close as I can to being what I'd always had. And so, but I think just like any home recipe where there's no real instructions to it, you kind of go with what you think it's supposed to be like. And that's all you can really do.
My Aunt Sway died on December 14th, 2024. Nipi chaw wasn't the first thing I thought about after she passed away. It actually didn't cross my mind until I went back up to Northern California for her memorial a few months later. My mom pulled a large plastic jar out of the fridge. In a past life, it had held fried shallots. Now it was packed to the brim with my aunt's last batch of nipi. As with many items used by my family for storage, the jar was on its last legs. So I transferred the nipi to one of my mom's many Tupperwares in an attempt to give it a more dignified final vessel. We took it with us to the memorial and put it out on the buffet next to the curries and other food my family had brought in her honor. As things wound down, we made sure everyone took a bit of it home. I know she would have been happy being able to provide for her family one last time. I haven't been able to bring myself to eat any of my portion yet. When I was born, my mom had 7 brothers and sisters. Now it's just her and a couple brothers. The last time I saw my aunt was at the hospital in palliative care. We talked about the roast she was planning on cooking for Christmas and the rare 2-foot-long hot dog my husband and I had eaten earlier that week. I know eventually it will be less painful, and someday I'll need to make up a new batch of napi for my family. Over the years, we've divvied up recipes like my Aunt Zinni's many Christmas cookies and my Uncle Coco's pear martinis in an attempt to keep their legacies alive. I've hosted hot dog nacho bars for friends, another Uncle Coco specialty, and recently attempted cinnamon, a turmeric spice sticky rice my grandma used to make me. Every time I'm able to recreate their dishes and share them with people I love, grief fades a little, even if just temporarily, and the family we've lost feels less far away. Now, when I make more napicho, it will be an act of mourning and of nourishment. I'll think about my aunt and her love of food and her family, and I'll do my best to carry that on with each new batch.
So, listeners, I must admit I've been holding out on you. I have some news. While our team was immersed in grief working on this episode, we also learned that this would be more than just the finale of this season of Meat and Three. I brought in my co-host and co-executive producer H. Conley for this part of the episode, because this is our last episode of Meat and Three together.
Yeah, truly the end of an era. I mean, I made my first story for Meat and Three all the way back in 2019 when I did the HRN internship, and I've been working on it on and off since then. HRN is the place I learned to make radio back when I was a cheddar cheesemaker, when I was considering becoming a journalist. And I got my first job after journalism school here as an engineer. Shout out to the one and only Matt Patterson, who
we love you, Matt.
Brought me back. Yeah, we love you, Matt.
Oh, and when H started as an engineer, that's when we met. We actually met working on the build together when I was a Julia Child Foundation Writing Fellow in 2023. And since then, in many roles and many iterations, we ultimately took over Meat and Three and have been working on it together for almost 2 years now. We both learned audio storytelling here at HRN, and now we've led 2 cohorts of fellows, teaching them everything we've learned. I didn't come from journalism or audio, and this has been the highlight of my career, learning how to make stories for food radio, and sharing that love of storytelling with purpose and silliness, of course, with the beautiful community that we've cultivated together.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like silliness is the defining feature. We have called our one-on-one meetings where we plan out the seasons, where we talk about stories, where we plan our education sessions. We've been calling them goosing and producing because we've got to get the silly goosery out in order to be good storytellers together. And I think that silly goose energy has been a really big part of this community that we've cultivated, and has allowed us to tell stories, especially the hard stories. I think keeping the silly goose vibes alive was key to a lot of the harder topics. I mean, including this episode, obviously. But yeah, we've gotten to make really incredible stories, had amazing interviews, and I don't know, built this really beautiful community that we love. And that's helped us cultivate our voices as storytellers, educators, community members. I mean, it's been the highlight of my career working with you. So yeah, I will miss this.
Me too. It is not for the faint of heart to work in a nonprofit space, but I am so proud of everything we were able to do together, and am really looking forward to all of our baby birds flying far and wide and spreading the good gospel of the Church of Meat, if you know, you know. But I just want to assure you listeners that this isn't a goodbye to Meat and Three. It's just a goodbye for now and a goodbye from us. So we're not sure when it'll be back in your feed or in what iteration, but we figured we'd take this as an opportunity to let our community say goodbye to the show. So here are some little messages from our current fellows and our beloved alumni.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Fisher. I was a reporter and producer for the 16th season of Meet and Three. I am going to get emotional talking about how much the opportunity working with HRN and the season 16 cohort meant to me. What I got from this program was a community of people that shared a lot of similar interests to me and treated each other with such kindness and love and respect. And I gained so much confidence, and I think it has everything to do with the culture created around each other and the bonds that we had. Thank you, Taylor and H, and my season 16 cohort. I miss you, and I can't wait to see what's in store for everyone that's been involved.
Hi, my name is Maya Kindo from season 17. I came into this experience super nervous and not as confident about my storytelling skills, and all that I've received is support. And I don't think that I would be the same storyteller that I am now without this experience. So I am eternally grateful to Meet and Three.
My name is Charlotte Rhodes, and I reported on season 15 of Meet and Three. My time at Meet and Three was a nugget of joy and energy. It carved out a little loaf-sized pocket in my heart that I have so much tenderness for. Thank you to everyone who shared their food and their stories. Until next time.
Hi cuties, it's Kiki from Meet and Three season 17. I had such an amazing time getting to meet all of the silly gooses from across the United States and our mama goose in the Netherlands. It has been such an amazing time getting to work with you all, and I can't wait to see what everyone does in the coming years, and I hope we all stay in touch. Thank you for having us. It's been a ride. Bye.
Hey all, this is Hannah Chenard from season 16 of Meet and Three. I'm beyond grateful for my time working on this podcast. It's really changed the way I write and made me feel empowered to tell stories that I really care about. Not to mention skills building to the max. I feel so lucky to have gotten to meet all these incredibly talented and generous and fun people who work on this podcast. You're all amazing, and I love you so much. Thanks so much, Meet and Three.
Hi friends, it's Ash Tyler from season 17. Being on Meet and Three has been such a treasured experience for me. I have gained so much confidence and insight into digital storytelling. I've gotten to tell amazing stories that you all have listened to over the season. And I honestly don't think I would be in the current job I am right now without the opportunity to be a fellow on Meet and Three and all the support I got from my colleagues. Plus, I have a whole new bunch of talented friends all over the United States. So thank you so much for your support and for listening to us this past season.
Hi, my name is Sasha DuBose, and I worked on Meet and Three season 15. The meaty community means so much to me and gave me a safe and supportive place to delve into the storytelling I always wanted to do, but couldn't find a proper home for in academia. As a young food scholar, producing stories for Meet and Three helped me believe that my voice matters, quite literally. From Cloudy Donut to cook-alongs, my time with Meet and Three is truly something I'll never forget. I proudly call myself an audio storyteller now, all thanks to the meaty community and you, our lovely listeners. Thank y'all for everything. Cheers!
Hi, it's Bean Metcalf from season 17 of Meet and Three. It has been such a cool experience to be part of this community. Everyone is so kind and interesting and funny and creative, and it is an experience that I will take with me and hold with me for a very long time. So, thank you, meaties.
Hi everyone, it's Taylor Graham from season 17. I just wanted to express my utmost gratitude for my time with the meaty community. From discussing seed farming in a changing climate to pleading my case in food court, sharing food stories on Meat and 3 has been a pleasure. And of course, shout out to our producers, H. Conley and Taylor Early, audio engineer Sam Girardi, and my fellows/reporters. I couldn't have asked for a better team.
Season 17, Sariel, reporting from the closet. We made it to the end, y'all. I'm so proud of us. So grateful for Season 17 Meaty Sweeties to be vulnerable in the pod and share some amazing stories and grow and evolve together. Wishing you all the best in your next endeavors. Sariel, out.
It's Dylan. Meat and 3, I will miss you. I want to send you off with so much gratitude. I became an intern on Meat and 3 in 2018 after graduating from college and thinking that after having a college radio show, this might be something that I would like. And it was just so exciting for me to be given a mic and told I could go do interviews and write scripts and be in the studio and record voiceover and get edits from people and learn how to edit audio myself. I really credit the career that I have now, 6-7 years later, to being able to have that opportunity and to be able to do so much and learn so much and be so hands-on with my stories. I mean, that's the best way to learn. And I wasn't just helping a host with their transcriptions or greeting guests. I was doing it all through this show and learning from people that I respect so much. And when I got a full-time job at HRN and was able to, lead that internship program and produce Meat and 3 for a long time, it was such a pleasure and such an honor. And I met some of my closest friends in New York through that internship program because so many cool people came through and were interns and had the same interests as me. And I just get so happy when I see former interns from Meat and 3 out in the world succeeding and doing awesome things. And I just can't imagine having not had that experience at Meat and 3, where I would be today on so many levels. So much love to you, Meat and 3, to every single person who's ever worked on Meat and 3. I really think this show will be missed.
Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. I hope these stories serve as nourishment amidst our collective losses. And honestly, we're really going to miss y'all. Learn more about the guests and topics we touched on this week by checking out our show notes. This episode of Meat and 3 was lovingly reported by Hugh Huen, Jesse Nicely, Sariel Grullon, and Maya Okindo. Our lead producer on this episode was Hugh Huen, with support from the rest of our team: Ash Tyler, Taylor Graham, Bean Metcalf, Kiki Canudo, and Sam Girardi. Meat and 3's executive producers are H. Conley and me, Taylor Early. And our audio engineer is the one and only Sam Girardi. Our theme song was composed by Breakmaster Cylinder. This program is supported in part by the Julia Child Foundation for Gastronomy and the Culinary Arts, as well as public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, in partnership with the City Council. As always, Meat and 3 is powered by Simplecast. Meat and 3 is a production of Heritage Radio Network, the world's pioneer food radio station. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org and follow us at heritage_radio and at meaty.gram. And please stay in touch. Whether you have a story idea or just like to say hey or goodbye, write us at ideas@meatand3.nyc. And for the last time, that's all spelled out.